Hey, hello, how are you all doing? You're seeing a lot of me these days, determined to get all this information out to you all because I know how much it will help you during the intermittent fasting. So, I wanted to talk to you about the percentages of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And because, especially if you're wanting to lose weight or if you have blood sugar issues, which type 2 diabetes, very often the kind of general rules around it may not get you the result, and there's various different reasons for that. Sorry, let me just put this on here. um, Sorry, I don't know why that's not working. um, Give me two ticks. Give me two ticks. No, it's not working. Cool. So yeah, as I was saying, if you're not getting the results, we're all very different. We all have different needs. We have four different blood groups. We all have had different life experiences in terms of stress. Where male and female can be very different, especially if you've been having children and breastfeeding children and all the work that gets involved in that. And then you've got your monthly cycles as a woman. And for men, you may be doing a lot of physical work. You may actually be sitting in front of a computer a lot of the time. You may be managing big groups. You may be working outside. There's all sorts of different things that impact um, how the body deals with the food that we're putting in. So, but what I wanted to share with you was the work of Professor Tim Noakes, who is in my friend Donald's documentary Serial Killers, which is a picture of, in the front, Donald in a coffin covered in cornflakes. And I'm sure you understand that a lot of these crappy cereals, super handy as they are just absolutely not food. They say there's much nutrition in the cardboard as there is in the actual product. So what Tim Noakes did was he tore out pages of his book, realizing that the food pyramid as we had seen it, which was carb heavy, was wrong. And I think this is the thing that we're finding, isn't it? You think well, I went through the low fat, and you cut all the fat out, and you get your whole grains in. Worst possible advice for somebody like me, blood group O, very active. And I ended up, not just because of that, but there was other things that impacted my health, my digestive system, and I ended up with chronic fatigue. But that food made it worse. So food can really do three things. It can act as medicine, it can act as poison, and it can do nothing, give you energy. So it's not doing you any harm, but it's not particularly doing you any great good. So when we start to realize that, start to understand where the food's coming from, obviously is a huge, huge thing. What processes has it been through? And then if you're really struggling to lose weight, there was again the whole thing about metabolism. Oh, it's a lot of rubbish. It's calories in, calories out. Well, we're understanding that that's absolutely false as well. Your metabolism can and does play a very important role in how you digest and use the energy that you're putting in your mouth that we call food. So when you get your percentages, and the ketogenic diet has given us a huge insight as to the fuel that the body runs on. There's two fuels. There's probably more, but right now, ketones or glucose. So glucose from your carbohydrates and ketones from your fats and some of your proteins. Because we're now also understanding that some of your proteins can be converted to glucose as well as ketones. So this is how it can become very, very confusing. I'm not surprised you're confused because there's so much conflicting information. So let's start by looking, there is no one size fits all. You're going to have to do a little bit of investigation and trial on your own body with your own food. But what really, really struck home for me with people that are finding it incredibly difficult to lose weight or to heal is that what can happen is as you get older, and particularly women as they get to the perimenopausal stage, where we could previously balance inflammation, we cease to balance inflammation, and inflammation can come up. You get hot sweats, you get rashes, you get foggy, you get emotional, etc. Because of the change in hormone levels. And also, what happens in the digestive system is because our pancreas, our entire digestive system, but particularly the pancreas that produces insulin, which is a hormone, gets under a lot of stress. We're having far, far more simple carbohydrate and sugar than we've ever had in human history. And the quality of it's just crap, often genetically modified. Well, thank you. So it's really important that we understand when the body starts to change. Now, what happened to me, the menopausal middle, I thought it was a lot of rubbish, but it turns out you can eat the same food at 25 as you do at 45, and it can have a very different impact on your weight. And I think weight's one of the things. So let's just talk about weight right now because it's very easy to measure. We all know when the clothes get too tight or clothes get too slack, there's something going on. And maybe it's stress. Some people put on weight, they eat more when they're stressed. Some people don't eat when they're stressed. We're all different. But let's look at the enzymatic action within the digestive system and the insulin response to this and how our blood sugar gets affected and what that means for your hormone balance, for your mental health, and your weight. So, what happens is maybe when you were 40, for example, you could have 50% of your, say 33 and a third percent of your diet in carbohydrates. Balanced 33% carbs, 33% proteins, and 33% fats, because we used to live in this ideal world where we thought that was exactly what we needed, balance, okay? And that maybe works when you're younger. And then you get a little bit older, your enzyme situation is depleted, your pancreas isn't working quite the same. And I think there's other things in there that we quite simply don't fully understand. But whatever reason, your carbohydrate tolerance goes down. Now, this happened to me. And my daughter, who is very fastidious about measuring everything, she can eat 2 to 3 times the amount of carbohydrate that I can eat and maintain ketosis. Whereas when I went into the menopause, my tolerance for carbohydrates went right down. So I had to adjust my diet to maintain my weight because I started getting a menopausal middle. At one stage, my belly came out in front of my boobs. I've got pretty big boobs. So that was not a good look, a big round potato shape. And you know what, you obviously do what you do for a while, ignore it and think it's okay, it feels a bit bloated, it feels this. Started doing a bit more research and realising I came across Professor Tim Noakes in my friend's documentary and was like, right. So how he describes it, and I highly recommend you go and look at his work and his research, and a beautiful, honest, open man. So when he's working with people who are, and very often very obese, morbidly obese, and but it doesn't really matter if you want to actually drop the body fat, which, and for a lot of us in the West, is toxicity as well. If you live in the jungle and you get fat, it'll just be stored energy. But when you're living in the Western developed world, your fat is usually toxic. So you want to get that out the body. So if you, let's go back to the example, you were 33% carbohydrate and suddenly now you're 20%. It's what he calls your bite point. So, and you're eating 22% carbohydrate, you will not get the result. You will still keep gaining weight and storing and storing. And then, of course, what happens is then you start to panic. I'm like, oh, I'm getting heavier and heavier, and the body, because you don't understand, is the percentage primarily start off with your carbs that's causing the body storing and storing, and then it just thinks that's what it has to do. And also, again, if you've ever tried the ketogenic diet, you'll know that Atkins did a great favour as well with the Atkins diet, but he focused on the protein. And again, sometimes you need to change your protein and your fat You're having too much protein and too much fat, and vice versa. So you have to play around and work out what's working in your body. Now you can buy all the gadgets if you want and if you've got the financial desire and whatever, if you like that. Or you can just go in how you feel because you will know as soon as you wake up and you've got energy and you've got clarity and you're wanting to do things and you're more excited. You're like, this is how I'm supposed to feel. Um, Yes, I mean everybody does it their own way. So the on what I want to do right now is just to make it very, very simple for people and simple for people that don't have the money to go to a nutritionist either, so that you can work this out yourself. Obviously, if you can go to somebody and they can help you, fantastic. And go to somebody you like and that you trust and that looks great and is full of energy as well. But if you're just for your information and your understanding about the percentages. This bite point is, as Tim Noakes talks about the fall off the cliff point. When he explains this to his clients and they understand, okay, and this may mean that you have to measure and weigh things. I didn't do that. I just took my carbohydrate for a month really low down to see what it would do. Because I like to try all of these things on my own body and I'm a Gemini, so I like to switch things up. I get bored. So I just took my carbohydrates right down until I knew for sure that I had enough fat. I was using MCT oil, coconut oil. There's different ways to do it, and everybody will argue and have their own idea about it. Do your own research, but just think about this bite point. If I am been storing weight and I'm really hardly eating, and I've got a couple of friends that this has happened to, first of all, digestive enzymes really helping to break the food down and getting the percentages of your carbohydrates right and the quality of your carbohydrates right. Now, you've heard me banging on about white shite. So, your white flour and the white sugar, anything that's made with and has these things added, take that out your diet. There is no healing, healthy diet that has that in it. Sorry, you'll never find a good naturopath or nutritionist or health practitioner that will tell you to eat more processed white bread and more cakes. It's just not in the healing diet. So, but what we're doing right now, of course, is brilliant. If you cannot give that up at the moment, eat it within your fasting window. Because what I'm trying to do right now with this whole month is I know there's a lot of people that are really tired and really feeling unwell and really stressed, don't have time to let all the information. There's too many things. So we're just saying, look at one thing at a time. So you don't have money to go and spend on all the different retreats, etc., that are maybe available. But what you can do is stop eating last thing at night. And that if you go to your bed at 10, 7 o'clock, you go to your bed at 11, 8 o'clock. You should be going to your bed by that time anyway, especially in January, especially when you're intermittent fasting, giving the body time to digest that food. So if you can't give up the white bread, just eat it within the window. But if you're ready to give up the white bread and the processed stuff, please feel free to do that as well. But also um, getting your percentages right. I think this is just so simple for most people to understand. So you're eating 22%, you're thinking, I'm doing this and it's still not working because maybe your bite point's 20%. So once you can start measuring the foods, and I'm not going to, I mean, I could be here for the next 3 months talking about food. That's not the thing. You don't need a degree, you don't need anything. You just need to understand, well, what is carbohydrate? Where do I get fat? Where do I get protein? And what carbohydrates am I trying to avoid in order to get these percentages right? With MCT oil, you can put it into soups and stews and smoothies, etc. Coffee, I love bulletproof coffee. That's probably be controversial. People will be coming in saying you shouldn't have that. What you have to do is really work out what you can do, what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel strong, what makes you feel motivated, instead of getting a ton of information and then ended up doing nothing. So cutting out the white sugar and the white flour, upping your fats. Now we know nuts and seeds and oily fish, avocados, and cold oils, salad dressings, because that's another whole argument, the quality of fats and making sure you don't heat your your unsaturated, your saturated, sorry, your poly and your monounsaturated fats. You don't heat them. You eat them cold. Because there's an awful lot of cheap fats that are going rancid and hydrogenated and causing havoc. They're very oxidizing to the body. So again, the quality of everything and the amount of everything. So, for example, I'm keeping using the mantra, no white poop. I know some people don't like the word shite. I love it. It's just such a descriptive word. So when you're looking at quality, if you a little bit of something that's really good quality is going to go further. But again, I totally understand if you've got a young family. My grandkids, they eat you out of house and home. Trying to keep them in good food literally costs a lot of money. Nick will just eat 10 tangerines in a day. And so it can be a challenge. So just do what you can. So the bulletproof coffee is a really good one. If you're trying to break cravings and addictions, fat, 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 and more fat. Because what happens, and this is when the magic, my daughter actually said this to me. She says, I used to just think I was I can't remember the term. She was very, a greedy pig. And then I realized when she went in keto, she stopped craving, stopped eating nearly as much because the satiety thing just went off. You're not thinking about your next meal because you're just simply not hungry. So if you really have issues with cravings and addictions, etc., fat, 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 good quality fat all the way, and proteins, I'll switch that off. Now, if you're vegan, that can be more challenging. And again, according to Dr. Patrick Holford, he says that 90% of us cannot methylate non-vegetarian sources of omega-3. It has to come from an animal or a fish source. So that would say that only 10% of our population. But if you think back in the day, if we were living off the land, in the winter we would have to be eating fish and game and meat because there's nothing grown, especially in Scotland. So that's something to think about. Where are you getting a lot of your bees, etc. from? I don't want to talk about veganism right now because some people will thrive in that diet and other people will fail on it quite miserably. There is no one diet fits all. Nicholas Gonzalez, when he was helping his cancer patients, had 10 different diets ranging from raw vegan to ketogenic and all the variations in between. Now, everybody's wanting to sell you a way, usually a way that's worked for them, which is great if that resonates with you. Taking a lot of different things into consideration. Sometimes you need to have like an ICU. I need to get on this and get right into this right now. And a part of that would be making sure that your digestive system, you think you put food in here, what the body does, breaks it down, takes what it needs, and excretes the rest in the ideal world. But if you are low in the enzymes, because the enzymes are what breaks the food down, if it's not actually food that the body recognises, if you don't have the enzymes to break it down, if it's if your digestive system's full of fungus and candida and bacteria infections, the body quite simply cannot manage all of that. So what we do with the ketogenic diet and with a lot of higher protein diets, there's all different names for it now, low inflammation, etc. And anybody with brain tumours, that's a really, really brilliant idea to try that on yourself. Dousing the inflammation and also stopping imbalancing your blood sugar. So you stabilise the pancreas and just do that for months and months and give the body a chance. You can then increase your carbohydrate tolerance again, simply by just starting to add in. But sometimes that can take it can take a couple of years. And this is again the message we need to get out. The real true healing doesn't come in 5 days, the 5-day detox or the 4-week intermittent fasting challenge. It comes from the daily practices and the kind of determination and commitment to the body to get back. The same way you would do in your house if you wouldn't try and decorate your whole house and clean the whole place in 1 hour. You would do it bit by bit. And that's just what we're doing. So if you have metabolic issues, if you feel that you're storing your middle, like what I was finding when I was doing yoga, it was this big lump was here, and I couldn't even really get into a position or a nice stretch anymore. So, it can be very uncomfortable. Um, but primarily, that's what it's about. How's it making you feel? And also, if you start to feel that you're powerless and you're like, I'm kind of like, you know, trying to find the something in the dark because you just don't understand, then this is a really powerful thing for you to know. Get your carbohydrate percentage down and make sure it's complex carbohydrates. And the veggies that grow below the ground are starchy and are more likely to put your blood sugar up, especially if you roast them and bring all the sugars out. But the ones that grow above the ground, you can eat till the cows come home, literally. Um, so I'm just sorry, I'm just looking. Keep them yeah. If you've got any questions around this, please feel free. I'm one of the people made this with the vegan diet. I'm very fortunate with access to. Yeah, exactly. So I think, I'm very aware when we're from the Heal Scotland perspective, I want it to be inclusive. And we start saying, well, you have to do this and you have to do that. And it's just people just switch off. And that's why we're trying to keep it, from this, just do the thing at night all the way up to do whatever, add all these other amazing things that you know what to do. And it depends where you're at. And if you can't if you can't afford organic meat, and if you can't, well, you just have to use what you can use. Soak them. There's ways around it. Don't allow all the rules and regulations and everybody's points of view to stall you into inaction. Just get on with it. Now let's look at the micronutrients, which is your ions, all your minerals. And we don't really talk about them much, because there's such focus put on the macros. And the micronutrients also, obviously, the whole thing, you can't take one thing out the system and say you just need vitamin D or you just need to do breath work, or you just need to do intermittent fasting. There's, this whole system is being affected by pretty much everything, our external environment and our internal environment, but primarily as well about in here. But in terms of, if you see the body as this mass of vibrating cells, and every cell has a semi-permeable membrane. And that membrane is where your essential fats, your omega-3, 6, 9. So it's like an olive oil in kind of texture. And it absorbs light and it reflects light and it lets information in and it lets information out in the ideal world. And your magnesium, your potassium, your sodium, all these balances, zinc, all these things, and all the different amazing things that ideally the rain comes down, comes through the rocks, fills itself with all the minerals, brings all that into the soil, and then the plants grow with the minerals, and then the animals eat that, and there's a whole beautiful symbiotic thing going in as to what's going to keep us alive and well and vibrant. And but of course, that system's been completely trashed by our idiot governments and big greedy corporations and big pharma. It's just mad that we're not allowing nature. It's happening though. We're getting back to it. There's places popping up all over the place. So it's really, really easy now to find somewhere in your area or find somebody and get onto the Good Food Project, because it's amazing as well. Oh no, I thought I was doing good last night. No, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with roast veg. I love roast veg, but just be aware it can spike your blood sugar if you are insulin resistant and if you're having carbohydrate and metabolism issues. And also on that fact, before we go back into the minerals again, it's what you combine it with. So I would assume, being a carnivore, I would be having roast veggies probably with either some fish or some meat or something that was going to balance the carbohydrate out, because the combination is key as well for balancing your blood sugar. So understand that. I mean, if I just eat an ice cream cone, for example, it's do something very different to my blood sugar than if I had ice cream with nuts and seeds and MCT oil all mixed up. But again, you can play around with this, and experiment in your own body. Don't just listen to me and take everything I say. We're in a place now where you have to educate yourself. You have to understand your body because it's different from mine. What worked for me might not work for you. And I see that all the time. I get amazed at how little some people need to do to feel better. I had one girl, she had Menwere's disease, and she was better in 6 weeks by changing her diet. Now, would that work for everybody? No. It's some people just respond. Type 2 diabetes, you can balance your blood sugar in a matter of days, often in weeks. But then the challenge is keeping it going until the body gets it. Because it's just, you have to retrain the system. You have to rebalance the ecosystem and the environment. And if you go way back to your old habits, you're going to get what you always got, simple as. So back to the minerals, there's a really brilliant book called The Rock to Rot Theory. And if you put something out in the garden, how long does it take to rot away? And the faster it rots outside, the easier this, according to this book, it will be in the digestive system. But what state's your digestive system in? I've actually started taking some enzymes because my digestive system, which I've never had any issues with, was, I just felt I needed some enzymes to help it. Been through quite a lot of stress, and that has a huge impact on your digestive system. So stress, and that's another thing I'll talk to you a little bit about. It's another question. Oh, wow. Quadruple heart nutrition and fasting. Wow, that's phenomenal. Yeah, brilliant story. My husband needed a quadruple heart bypass, but he turned it round with nutrition and fasting in 6 weeks. See? And taking stress out, absolutely. Stress is key, but let's stick to the minerals because I'm going to be doing a lot on stress and how you can be as good as gold with your food, but if you're bitching, blaming and complaining and shaming and resenting and far, far, far too many things in your daily to-do list, you can negate all of that because we're alchemists, right? We're changing our chemistry, whether it's with our food, with our water, with our alcohol, with our thoughts, with our beliefs, with our feelings, with our stories, with our perceptions, all of that, with our past, with what we're carrying, with our genes, with our families, all of that's having an impact. So when you are going through a very stressful situation, you up your fats. Think about it like driving your car. If you never put your car above second gear, what do you think would happen? You went uphill in first and second gear every day and you didn't ever get right up into fifth and just let the car cruise. Obviously, you're going to wear and tear and you're going to burn things out. And that's what we do with this. And all our eoms, they're so important. And because we've destroyed the topsoil and so much of our landmass, we're not getting the minerals. So we're having to supplement them when nature's giving them to us right there. And this is the mad stuff that we're doing. We're having to, because we're not living in the perfect world. Hormones are suffering imbalance from the way we're living. So we're having to do things artificially until we can get back to some level of sanity with how we're living with nature and her food. So you're no longer on blood pressure tablets, painkillers, etc. after a few months of doing it. See, it's just fantastic. I love these stories. Absolutely love it. It's so important. And with, simple, I'm saying simple, high blood pressure can be very simple to reverse. So also you can't ignore it. It's the warning lights on. Change. The body's communicating to you. So your eoms are very, very important. Your minerals, your trace elements. So for allowing for the transport in and out the cell and through the cell, because if toxins get in, and let's face it, I was showing up a lot of lead in my body because living in Malta that's very polluted with cars. So these heavy metals just stay in the mercury from my teeth, which I'm still working on. So I'm really working on getting the heavy metals through the body and out the cells. And that's a process too. Get Deborah Drake on at 6 o'clock tonight talking about parasites and worms and flukes, etc., and how we can identify what is affecting our engine. What parts of our ecosystem are these little critters having a ball in, which affects the way our organs work? and how our blood sugar and our nervous system and all our systems, vestibular systems, muscular systems, or how they all perform. Achy joints, almost certainly you've got a leaky gut. And that's when you need your fats to seal that. You need all your magnesium, zinc, potassium, sodium balance, all of these things in balance allow the body to go, oh, thank goodness for that. I have now got the balance. I've got what I need in order to make this baby work. This tummy jungle can go back into homeostasis and balance and harmony. So organic food will be grown in soil that's full of minerals. So if you can get it and if you can afford it, or if you can't, if you can get along to a garden and talk nicely to the gardener. I know my friend Alex in Edinburgh, they couldn't give their organic veggies away. Do a little bit of research. No, if you really, really want to get that good quality stuff, you can find it somewhere. Learn to forage. Fantastic live this morning with Janice Klein, turning a carrot and a bit of salt into an absolute microbiota delight for the gut biome. There's ways to do it. Keep it simple. Don't overload yourself with stuff to do. Start with the 3 hours at night, giving the body that time back to do what you need it to do. And then the hour in the morning, add in a wee kraut or take out some of the white shite. One thing at a time. Just don't overload yourself, because what happens if you try and do too many things, you crash and burn and you just think, what's the point? So just give yourself 1 or 2 things at max just now to do to improve. And then you're guaranteed. And if you don't get it right, try again. Again, we were always told crash diets don't work. Lie, they actually do. People that lose weight faster are far more likely to stick to a healthy eating plan. It's quite obvious. Why did we ever listen to that? Did it suit somebody to tell us that lie? Does it matter? We now know it's an absolute lie. Fasting, free, get into the habit of it. I mean, I know it can be scary to start with, but see, once you've done it, you're going to love it. We're doing a 3-day fast at the end of the month. Water fast or dry fast, wherever you're at. Again, we'll talk about that nearer the time. Such a free, I love free stuff. I love the fact that anybody can do it. You just need this. Because a lot of people think money can buy them health, and it can't. Choices buy you health, and we all have that and that ability. Education as well, because we know that poverty and poor health are intrinsically linked. Is that education? Is it money? What exactly is it? Mindset? All of these things, yes. So we need to look at that. We need to get this information out. Fasting's free. Anybody can make a carrot kraut. Everything we're given to you, you're not expected to break the bank to do it. So please, please, please share the lives, spread the word. And talk about your own experiences, how you balanced your blood sugar, how your husband avoided heart surgery. I mean, come on, that's massive. It's phenomenal. And then how do you stay well? Because it's all one going, right, well, I'm going to, for the next 3 months, I'm going to be on it and I'm going to take care and you will feel better. 100%. Everybody's done it. And then what do? We let things slip. So it's continuously keeping ourselves on that balance. Oh, too much there, a little bit back here, a little bit back there. And building these things in, but understanding your body. Understanding if you're perimenopausal and menopausal, that your carbohydrate tolerance can plummet. And you can use enzymes to help. Fibre-filled live foods. That will actually move through the body with a prebiotic and a probiotic action. That you're actually feeding the army that fixes the body rather than the one that destroys it, because that's what sugar does. Sorry, it wasn't me that designed it. So understand it. If you're going to have sugar, have it in your window, have it straight after your meal, so that you really can control your blood sugar. Buy a wee thing for doing your blood sugar as well. You can get one on Amazon or whatever for a tenner, and you can start to understand, see where you're at with that, because My friend Donal, who made Serial Killers, The Big Fat Sugar Fix, Don't Fear Fat, and his last one was Extra Time. Phenomenal documentaries. You should go to his site and watch them, because his dad took a heart attack. He was a professional footballer, and he followed everything to the T, the food pyramid, which, as we now know, is a lot of crap. And especially for blood group O's. And the Extra Time, they went through and they looked at people who thought they were fit. And this particularly affects men, although it does affect women as well, that their arteries were furred up because of the wrong information they'd been given primarily about fat. And in Extra Time, they show you how they reverse it with diet and supplements. So it's absolutely possible. MCT oil is just a triple triglyceride fat. It's made from coconut. Google it. If you don't know things, just Google it and learn and educate yourself. So I think that'll do for me, because I'm going to be back on here tonight with the incredible Dr. Deborah Drake. Wait till you meet this woman. Oh my God. Can you repeat his name, please? Donal O'Neill, Serial Killers. I think it's Donal. And he also wrote a book with the Piopi diet with Dr. Asim Malhotra, who's now doing phenomenal work trying to get the calling Big Pharma out, shall we say. Professor Tim Noakes, who is, Google him, you'll find him on YouTube. 6 o'clock tonight for Dr. Deborah Drake. Wow, wait till you meet this woman. I'm like that. How long? I said to her, let me know how long you've got, because honestly, her information and her knowledge will blow your mind in a totally different way to look at your jungle, your tummy jungle, and why you're getting sick. It's not your fault. Great news, but also within that, there are things you can do to change it. So I hope that was helpful. Percentages of fat, organic food if you can get it. If you can't, you maybe need to supplement some of your EMs. And if you can, again, just do your own research. Not everybody can go to a nutritionist at this stage, but just play around with your own body, because why would you not? It is so fascinating to see how it feels. And there's so many different resources out there. My daughter's looking at the Galveston diet just now, which is high inflammation, perimenopausal, and for your whole nervous system. I think it costs about £60, but it's a brilliant idea, because they do all the education. You have to watch all the videos and do all the quizzes first, so that you really are fully equipped and you actually take control and take your power back and try it on your own body, and you'll feel so much better. Yes, Bernie, good stuff. Yeah, oh, you'll love her. She's absolutely rocks. Okay, guys, enough from me. I'll chat to you later on. Ciao.